Mr. Chuck, how are you, man?
Hey, Brad. Happy New Year or whatever it is.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, I wanted to show you one of my favorite Christmas presents from my son.
Oh, BMO.
What I want is a BMO box with Kilroy in it.
Oh,
That's what I want.
That's
I think
doable.
we need to ramp up that 3D printer.
Yeah, you just need to get a little screen and place a BMO's face, and it can show BMO's face as the screensaver.
Yeah, and then we can put in a voice model. I can just talk to BMO.
That's cool. Yeah, okay. All over that. Get your son to send me one for Christmas, too.
I will. I know. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite characters. Okay, so what should we do first? Should we dive into some Kilroy stuff, or you want to hit news? Or
well, you tell me some news stories, because I've been heads down playing with Kilroy this morning, and I didn't really pay attention to it.
Okay, so well, let me go pull up this shit. Because of course, is X going to be down right now?
Of course.
Seriously. All right, here we go. Let me share this screen. Share screen. There we go.
Man, take a couple of weeks off and you lose your game.
Man, I'm so out of it. Can you see it?
I do see it.
So not only do we know that this,
no shit. This is horrible.
Yeah. So not only we know that Elon, already has altered his AI Grok to fit his political beliefs when it came to his I'm not going to go off. But when it came to South Africa and some issues related to white people, we already know he actually had the team alter the AI's answers on questions about that.
Yeah, well, questions about himself where it was being too truthful.
Right. And anybody that's paid attention to this, and those of you that haven't, all two of you, that have, Kilroy is built upon the idea that AI and compute does not have to be centralized, right? You don't need a SaaS, you don't need a server, and you sure as hell shouldn't be feeding your AI into your data into a centralized AI like Grok or OpenAI or any of those.
Well, I will tell you, Brad, that if we run Kilroy over Starlink, we're giving him the big middle finger because it's all end-to-end encrypted. So
oh, that's pretty good, actually. I like that. I might get a Starlink dish just for that.
He isn't getting squat from us. He's just having to haul our bytes.
So anyway, this article, for those that might be listening instead of watching, says Starlink updates privacy policy to allow AI model training with your personal data. You can opt out, in fairness, but they actually did this quiet little privacy update without being very explicit about what that meant, right? They didn't say that, hey, we're going to use it. And it's not only for, well, I would assume by third-party AI, they just mean XAI, that company. And so because it's a separate company, they had to make it like third-party AI services. But in the prompt that people get, it doesn't even list that it's going to be AI. Yeah.
Just to make it even worse, have you read the release notes in any of your latest Tesla software updates?
Oh, no, I have not.
Well, Grok is in your dashboard now, and I'm sure that there's a similar paragraph in there right now, and it probably includes, where did you drive today, Brad? Who was driving? What were you listening to on your Spotify stream? What did you put in as your destination in the GPS?
Well, and, last week they announced that the Defense Department is going to be using Grok for everything, which is fucking terrifying.
Well, you have to take that with a grain of salt, because they have the entire DoD sits on two networks, ZipperNet and NipperNet. One is secure and one's not. And
by the way, people, for those of you wondering why Chuck is about to spew out technical knowledge about the Defense Department, it's because he has done work with the Defense Department. And
but in all fairness, I got to believe that the people who manage the secure side aren't going to let that thing anywhere near their servers with a 10-foot pole.
I got to tell you, because that's the only way we get to AI kills us all. right? Is that you allow a defense department to be controlled.
Let's play a nice game of global thermonuclear war.
Yeah, or AI kills all brown people, right?
Whatever.
Anyway.
I mean, it's frightening when you read about it in the media, but it's less frightening when you realize that Elon probably doesn't even know those machines exist.
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true.
I mean, they barely gave him a clearance for NASA for all of his weed smoking on Rogan's show or whatever it was. So I'm sure they've never let him in the skiffs inside the Pentagon.
I added Cloudflare to our potential partners list because they're actively buying up artificial intelligence companies, which I actually think is smart, except for the fact that they can't maintain their existing services very well since Twitter was down today. So, but you know,
I mean, that may be some aftermath of the Verizon carnage from the yesterday and the day before.
You know, I didn't even hear anything about that. What was the story on that?
I don't know what the end result was, but if you looked at the down detector map of the U.S., it was solid red for Verizon. And we have Verizon Fios here. It worked like a champ. I didn't notice any outages.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. I want to talk, you know me, I'm always playing with everybody else's AI shit to see what they're doing and how they're doing it, et cetera, et cetera. And so I finally gave Claude Code a try last week and, you know, honestly was really impressed with it. Well, the reason I discovered that I was really impressed with it is because of the way that it handles things like context and managing the agents and how they interact. And they have adopted not exactly, but they have adopted a very similar model to what we've been working on for several months. And that is small context-based skills and or information that is embedded in a particular agent at a small level, at a micro level. And it was really cool to see how they've structured their stuff. And thankfully they've published it all for other folks to make use of. But it was really kind of cool to have the validation that a lot of the reason that people love the way Claude Code works on existing files and being able to open those files and extract context within the context of what you're working on and the code you're working on is because they've built something that operates similar to how we have structured Kilroy. Now with Kilroy, the context gets embedded within an LLM agent within the system, but we now also, which we can talk about later, have the ability to also pull in files and variables externally. So anyway, I will admit that I'm really impressed with how Claude Code works. We had some interactions with an old friend of yours who's using it for some adventure style gaming, as well as kind of overall utilizing files for context that we're kind of collaborating with. And so it's cool to see the validation, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
You know, it just made me think. You said a few months. You know, you realize this month is the more than 1 month anniversary of the first version of Kilroy AI services.
Holy shit.
Right. We did this last January.
I still feel like it's July.
Well,
I don't
it doesn't
know
feel like July outside here. It was 19 degrees this morning.
Dude, it was so cold here. It was like 42 this morning.
Oh no, you had to put on a sweater.
I put on the heat.
Look, man, I got on 3 shirts. You're sitting there in shirt sleeves.
In Gainesville, where my son is, it was 28 this morning, which for Florida.
Oh, wow, that's frosty.
That's frosty. Yeah.
Literally.
They had a nice little, if they had a little confluence of moisture in the air, it would have had some snow or something this morning. But
so, you know, you were talking about using Claude for the adventure game stuff. The interesting model that he was using was to use YAML files as context holders and structure.
Yep.
And we use JSON, and they have different purposes, right? He's got a lot of text-based descriptive information. Yeah, this is it.
Yep.
And the comments and the context in the YAML file are more useful for those sorts of, let me generate up a descriptive text message of what you see in the room or what you're doing or what actions you can perform. And we played with it a little bit last week, feeding some of those files into Kilroy, into a pipeline, and watching it navigate between rooms. And as it turns out, for the little LLMs, because they have a smaller context, one of the things that I think helps Claude, and I came to this in a roundabout way using Copilot in Visual Studio. Our little favorite idiot child LLM, Llama 3, has a 4K context window.
Oh, geez.
And even the dumbest version of their subsequent releases, Llama 3.1 and 3.2, have like 128K.
Yeah, I just switched my feed over to 3.1.
Right. And the problem, the problem with those newer models is they've trained them to be chatty and descriptive and try to engage humans, when what we really want are, silent, quiet, hardworking LLMs that do their job and don't brag about it.
Right.
And so we got to find one that's kind of got the bigger context, but the less chatty training model. Because when we put his big files into our pipelines, it loses track of where it is because it doesn't have enough context to read the big YAML files and know what's next and what it should do next. When they got stripped down and made smaller, it was cool. You could navigate
worked great
between the rooms. It loaded the files. It did everything it was supposed to do. It just wasn't very exciting because you had to strip out a lot of the description.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, Chuck's old friend is Don Hopkins, who was heavily involved with building the SimCity stuff, and now Micropolis, which, we never did show that, did we?
Oh yeah, man, we got Micropolis running in Kilroy. I'll go fire that up. We'll show it in a second.
Yeah, but the reason Chuck knows all these folks is Chuck built the first web server for the Mac way back in the .com days. Both of us, showing our age, are from that era. And so Don's a really great guy. Love what he's doing and the creativity that he's put into what he's building with Moo LLM. If anybody's interested in checking it out, it's on GitHub. It's really cool. The thing with it is that it just takes a lot of work, manual work, and it requires be automated.
It's dependent on Claude code right now. It's got some behaviors that only show up and only work when it's in this environment, which, you can obviously reproduce that. It's just code. You can get it to run somewhere else, but.
Well, I did get it to run in Google Anti-Gravity when I was testing it, but it did hiccup several times through the process because it just isn't structured the way Claude is. But again, what I love is seeing that Anthropic is just validating us, all those.
Well, it is cool. And I think, we're going to peak here. I just saw 2 articles this morning, both of which were saying, hey, OpenAI's got like 6 weeks worth of cash left in the bank.
Well, and what's interesting is thinking machines, which I believe are OpenAI veterans that left to start their own thing, are unable to raise more money because they don't have a strategy or a plan for what they're producing. And so 2 of the co-founders went back to OpenAI. And I'm thinking, if OpenAI doesn't have any money left, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like,
well, it made me think, when I saw that, our value proposition to anybody, whether you're an investor, whether you're a user, whether you're a business that wants to build, this is the safety net that lets the AI stuff continue when all the big centralized models trip and fall on their faces because it wasn't the right way to do it.
Exactly.
Right. Those data centers can go dark. All those machines can get shut down. Those GPUs can get sold, into gamer groups who want to have new GPUs, and that can all evaporate in a puff of smoke. And we can probably still produce more desktop linked compute than they were going to build in those data centers.
Absolutely. It's what is Vitalik calls it walk away status, right? He wants Ethereum to be, if the entire team walked away, it wouldn't matter because that stuff is still functioning and running.
It's on rails. Yep. Hey, so we're going to eat up our 30 minutes without showing any toys. I want to show you the.
Hold on. Let me turn this shit off. Hold on. I lost my screen.
What's done showing
I
a window?
switched.
And
Right? I mean, there's just all kinds of cool stuff that could happen. I love this.
well,
Freaking
anyway,
love
it was
this.
really easy to do, and it was cool that
But I had to turn it off.
Don, right. All right. So I'm turning it off too, because I want to show you the other really cool thing that is up here in Kilroy AI services. So we talked a little bit last show about the mini apps, right? The ability for Kilroy to show through some user interface into your pipelines.
Yeah.
And over the holidays, we spent a lot of time back and forth talking about how do we make Kilroy self-modifying? How do we get it to together new pipelines, drag in new users from the swarm, build new user interface. And in an effort to sort of bootstrap that process, I thought, let me make some of the little small atomic things that you always do in every pipeline that we've ever made, and really try to nail down exactly what is the essence of them and what do they do, so that we can teach a Kilroy LLM how to build this little thing, or how to build this little thing, or these individual pieces. Because it's not just about, do you know what a swarm is, and do you know what a tool block is, and do you know what an LLM block is? It's really about what shape do you put them in so that they do something useful, right?
Yep.
And because LLMs are generally semantically brain dead, they don't really understand necessarily how to do it unless you've shown them. It's just like asking them to write code. They write code because they've seen a million different ways to make a linked list.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you tell it make a linked list, it knows how to go and do that. And it knew it was a linked and all the other context. Well, Kilroy by itself doesn't know what these blocks mean and how they should go together. So I thought, well, let me make the basic collections of things. These are going to be like the subroutines that people ask questions about in Stack Overflow that now Copilot or Claude or whatever can barf out into your text editor.
Hey, real quick, why don't you, for folks that may not have watched anything prior to today, just tell us what we're looking at.
It's going to run. One of them happens to be this AI pipeline to put together a pipeline that does work with LLMs and users and tools in a way that you don't have to write any code. So this is the no-code editor for putting together all of these piece parts in Kilroy in ways that make your LLM work to do things that you can't. You know, you're going to talk to Copilot in your editor, or whatever you find at the bottom of the Internet Explorer page these days. So anyway, this top piece is about user message processing. Here's the user. There's messages from the user that go to a swarm. There's messages that are to the user that come from a swarm. And in our, we can use those in the pipelines to trigger different things to happen. So things that the user types, it's either a command or processed. That you do this every single time you do one of these things.
Right.
Right. So let's teach Kilroy how to generate this right out of the box.
Right.
It knows how to make a user input pipeline fragment.
Right.
Same thing is true for the LLM. LLM is going to either get messages coming into it from the outside world, or it's going to have output from it back to the, just put out messages to a user, in which case it's not a command and it just goes off to the user swarm and the user sees it on their screen. A different swarm, it might generate some user interface and show it to the user and ask for some input. It's sort of like off-page connectors in an electronics diagram. This wire goes off this page and it comes in on the other side of this other page, right? Or plumbing in a typical architectural diagram. So this is just commands goes off page here, and so in these command handlers, a command is in the swarm and a thing looks to say, hey, is that the load page command? Yeah, it is. Okay, well then go read the file that it wasn't able to do, but it knows it has knowledge of somewhere in a context file on disk. So this ID page for you. This is, for all practical purposes, a little Kilroy AI pipeline. Web parts have to come to life and all the little green lights have to light up. And in a minute, we'll know it's ready because I cleverly added a little thing that says once it's ready, it's going to spit out a message that's our still. I can say, hey, how are you, right? And it's going to just go to the LLM and do some work and come back with an answer, right? It's not until we put the slash commands in going to work. So I could reset this and bam, it clears everything out and resets the agent. But the really cool thing that it's doing today, and I'm sure it's not going to work right the
It'll
first
break
time,
down.
because I didn't sacrifice the chicken. All I did was eat a piece of beef jerky, and that wasn't enough. Right. So let's look at this little form demo. This is really not going to do anything but put some instructions up on the screen. Show the LLM generating stuff on the fly. This is the prompt that I'm going to give it. And since it's
But it could give it to itself.
It could have given it to itself. Exactly. It could have decided I need a user down capable display right now, so it didn't show it. But if I type in, tell me a joke, now that's structured. It's in a field. It's in a known place. I'm going to hit send. Look, the LLM got the message out of the HTML fill in the blank form. I didn't have to write any code to do that. I don't have to figure out how to talk to OpenAI APIs. It just did it, right? I can go back and I can still use this form. I can go back over here and say, what day is it? And it's not going to know, right? But you can mess with it.
But you could have.
It's always server time.
Yeah, we could have fed it in the context.
Right. So here we are back at the.
This is actually for people watching saying, well, so it's a box with a form that you talk to the AI, and that is not it. This is dynamically generated UI components. This means that based on the graphs that Chuck just showed us in the pipeline builder, that the AI can send commands to itself. The user can tell the AI what UI it might want. The dynamic of building apps and open